Okay, I guess I'm live. Are you introducing me or should I introduce myself? Guess I'll introduce myself. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Claude Gibson. Uh, live here in Chicago, Illinois, and this evening I will be reading the book called Simone Visits the Museum. And this book is actually written by a good friend of mine, Dr. Kelsey Brackmort, who lives in Chicago, and she wrote the book, and she's doing pretty well. But the premise of the book is centers around a young girl named Simone who visits the Smithsonian African American Museum for the first time. So we'll get right into it. Okay. Again, Simone visits the museum. Okay, so we'll get started. So early on a Saturday morning, Simone ran into her parents' bedroom and hopped in the bed to snuggle with her mother. "Good morning, my beautiful Simone," her mother said, smiling. "Morning, Mommy," replied Simone. Her mother kissed Simone on the forehead. "It looks like today will be a beautiful day. Once you and your brother Scott finish breakfast, we will complete our chores and then let's go explore our city, okay?" And then Simone agreed. So this is Simone and her parents getting ready for the day. Okay. So at breakfast, Simone and her older brother Scott sat down to eat. "Thank you, Mommy, for making my favorite oatmeal with cinnamon raisins and cranberries. Yum, it's so good," Simone said. Scott gulped down some orange juice and asked, "Can I add gummy bears to my oatmeal?" "Ugh, yuck," Simone said. Their mother looked at both of them and said, "Scott, like I told you before, gummy bears are not for oatmeal. Absolutely not. And Simone, you are welcome." When they were done eating, their mother cleared the dishes from the table. "What chores do you want to do this morning?" she asked. They're at the breakfast table here. So, "I want to feed Sophie. I can separate my dirty clothes," and Sophie is the dog, by the way. "I can separate my dirty clothes so you can wash them. And I'll straighten up my bedroom," Simone replied cheerfully. Scott sighed. "I'll wash the dishes and empty the trash can." Scott, straighten your room up as well. And both of you, please work quietly so Daddy can sleep a little longer," said their mother. Once she finished cleaning her room, Simone joined Scott in the hallway. He had just come back from taking out the trash. "I'm done. Can we go explore now?" Simone yelled. Their mother walked towards them from the kitchen and replied, "Yes, we're going to take the bus to the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, and then we can have a light lunch." Scott shrugged. "I really want to work on my robot. Is it okay if I stay here with Daddy?" "Sure," their mother said. "Yes, just me and Mommy," shouted Simone. "Can I wear my red sneakers and my leggings and the new shades Daddy bought me?" "Of course. Please go get dressed," her mother said. Her mother. They're getting dressed, and the dog is right there watching them get dressed. So Simone and her mom wait for the bus in D.C. when they're about to board the bus in Washington, D.C. When they arrived at the National Mall, Simone and her mother walked along the gravel pathway towards the museum. They noticed lots of people having a good time. Some people jogged, some people took pictures, and some played with frisbees. So if you haven't been to the National Mall in Washington, D.C., it actually looks like this. There's gravel walkways along the mall. The Smithsonian Museum has a bunch of buildings on the National Mall. And you can actually go into all of the buildings. I think I've been to most of the Smithsonian Museum buildings, including this one, the Museum of National Art, the Museum of African American History. So they finally got to the museum and stood outside. Simone squealed, "Oh, Mommy, this building is huge." "I agree, it's enormous. We'll probably need a museum map to help us navigate the collections and exhibitions," said her mother. "Now, do you remember how we behave in a museum?" "Yes, yes, yes. Stay near you at all times, lower my voice when speaking, greet the workers, and keep my hands to myself." Simone tried to whisper, but she was too excited and her words came out loudly. "Okay, let's go enjoy," said her mother, smiling. So they're standing outside the Museum of African American History, Smithsonian. That's what it looks like from the outside. And I've been a few times. It's actually a really big place and a really interesting place as well. So Simone and her mother entered the museum and arrived at the welcome desk just in time to take part in a guided tour. Afterwards, they browsed the gift shop. Simone and her mother didn't get to see every exhibit, but what they saw reflected the resilience and strength of African Americans. Now, if you ever get a chance to go to the museum, the first thing I would recommend is that you take at least a half a day because it's a pretty big museum, and they kind of guide you from the bottom and starts when we first got here as slaves into the Americas, and you work your way all the way up to the top of the building, and it kind of progresses you through time. So I would definitely recommend that you block off a half a day. You and your parents block off a half a day because it's going to take you that long to go through the museum. So as they started to leave the museum, Simone gasped just before they got to the door. "Oh no, where are my shades? They're my favorite shades. Where did they go?" "Don't worry," said her mother as she put her hands on Simone's shoulder. "I'm sure we can find them. Let's ask about let's ask about a lost and found. And if we need to, we can retrace some of our steps." So as you can see here, Simone's worried about her lost glasses. So Simone and her mother walked back to the welcome desk when they were suddenly stopped by a smiling docket. He held in his hand her shiny glasses. "Are these your shades?" he asked, looking at Simone. "Yes, thank you so much. How did you know they were mine?" Simone asked. "I saw them on top of your head when you walked into the museum. They're pretty shades and they sparkle. A visitor found them lying on a bench and gave them to me to take to the lost and found. Have a great day and please come visit the museum again." "We will," Simone said happily as she put on her shades. So I'll show you a picture of Simone getting her glasses back. Okay. When they were outside, Simone skipped ahead. She didn't go far because she looked back at her mother. "That was fun, Mommy. I learned so much. When you explained to me that families were separated during slavery, I started to miss Daddy and Scott. I want to know more. When can we come back?" "I learned a lot too," her mother said. "We will come back soon, and we can bring your daddy and your brother next time." Simone exhaled deeply. I guess that'd be okay. She loved Daddy and Scott, but she also really liked her time alone with Mom. "Are you hungry, Simone?" "I am starving, and it might faint if we don't eat and get something to eat soon. Let's find some food." Simone laughed and said, "Oh, Mommy, sometimes you're such a drama queen." Her mother gave her a soft but stern look. "Simone," she exclaimed. Simone straightened up and said, "I'm just kidding." So here they are outside the museum as they're leaving, going to get something to eat. They found a cafe not too far from the museum and sat outside. Simone asked, "Mommy, what is the phrase when you use when we eat outside?" Her mother put down her sweet tea and said, "Al fresco dining." That's the phrase used when you eat outside. Simone took a bite of her grilled cheese sandwich. "I like al fresco dining. There are so many cool people and unusual things going on as we eat." Her mother poured dressing over her salad. "It's fine to look, but don't stare. After we finish our lunch, we can meet your daddy and Scott at Anacostia Park and share what we saw today." So Simone and her mom eating, and people walking by. They're out eating outside and just watching all the different people. Simone and her mother took the bus to the park. As they walked through the park, they saw smiling. They saw families grilling vegetables and hamburgers. They also saw young men playing soccer and an all-female rowing club practicing on Anacostia River. "Look, there's Daddy and Scott. This day just keeps getting better," cried Simone. Her mother wrapped her arms around Simone's shoulders, kissed her on the top of the head, and said, "I'm glad we could spend time together." Simone looked up at her mother and said, "Me too, Mommy." It's her brother and her dad, Simone's dad, walking towards her and her mom. Okay. So that is it. That is the end of the book. Hope you enjoyed it. Just a little bit about the author. As I said, she's a good friend of mine, Dr. Kelsey Brackmore. She lives in Washington, D.C., and it's her hope that this book shows the pride, beauty, and diversity she sees in Washington, D.C. every day. It is her desire that the book will be one method to express to the children living in Washington, D.C. that they should take every opportunity to explore the entire city. What I will say is that if you get a chance one day, if your parents get the chance to take you, you may want to visit Washington, D.C. It's a great city. It's a beautiful city. It's not as big as Chicago. However, there's a lot of things to see and a lot of things to do. And you'll definitely learn a lot. So that is our book for this evening. Thank you guys for joining.